welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and today's project is to finish up the one we started last week on making the abstract anvil. So let's get right to it and conclude this project. Okay, just like we took out a bunch of material over here before we started working on the horn, I also need to take out a lot of material on this end before we start working on the heel. So I'm going to set that up on a couple of parallels. And just like before, I'm going to just mill this all this out, and then actually cutting the horn itself, milling the horn itself. I'll bring you back for that. Okay, I'm about to make the last final cleanup passes on taking this large section out. I want to come over to 1.5 inches. I'm going to leave just a couple thousandths. And now I'm going to climb mill just a couple thousandths to clean up that edge. This again will be an edge, a surface that I'll not be able to surface grind. Okay, I think we're got the heel roughed out now. We're going to come in now. After I take some of this off, again, the width of the heel is going to be the same as the width of the horn, 75% of the overall width. So we need to take some off of each side right here, and then we'll put our angle on. I've got the anvil in there now with the top facing toward me, the bottom in the fixed jaw. I've put a roughing end mill in there. That's what I actually used to take this big section out back here. So I need to come down 219 thousandths, and I'm going to rough that out up close to this edge over here, and then I'll put the finishing end mill in there and clean that edge up. I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but the heel is going to be the same width as the horn back here at the body of the anvil, which is it'll be 75% of the overall width. I've got that cut down now. I'm going to turn it over and take the same amount over here on this side, and then we'll start working on our angle to bring this up to make the heel. Now I think we're ready to start putting the angle on the heel. The top of the heel will have a step down just like the horn did, 100 thousandths. So I've measured 200 thousandths down. I want the end of the heel to be 100 thousandths as well. I've just scribed an angle across there. No idea what that angle is, but all I'm going to do is try to stack a couple of parallels here. Let me get it snug, and simply try to get that scribe line as close to parallel with the. All right, I've got to get it above the. I'll have to get it some above the jaws. It's going to take a moment here. All right, you see what I'm trying to do here. I'm going to keep fiddling with this until I get it figured out a way to hold it, and then I'll bring you back and show you the setup. All right, I'm comfortable now that I've got it set in there, and it's parallel. The scribed line is parallel with the with these parallels I got sitting on there. It looks like I might could tap down just a little bit. I've got it so tight now, I'm not sure I'll be able to move it. But I'll start milling that down. When I get close to that scribe line, if the angle looks like it needs adjusting some, I will. But I've got it as tight as I can physically tighten this vise, and I'm on about 1/3 of the body of the anvil now, so I believe it'll hold. Again, I'm going to use this roughing end mill. With this roughing end mill, I'm able to take the full width of the end mill as I'm making a cut, as I'm advancing on the x-axis. All right, I need to come back out to the end and go just a little deeper. All right, that looks like it's down to the scribe mark. Clean that out so I can see in there, and now we're ready to go right into that corner. All right, I think we're pretty close to having a heel done. Got some deburring or having a heel roughed out. What I'm going to do is set it back in there now and take 100 thousandths off of this top. All right, I've got the anvil mounted back in there now with the top up, got it seated in there good. I'm going to touch off. And you know, I had forgot how well these roughing end mills work. I hadn't used this one in a while. This is only a 3/8 one. But I'm definitely going to invest in a few more of these larger sizes. It's just no comparison to how well and how fast they can take the material off compared to a standard 4 flute. All right, so let's go down 100 thousandths. Lock the quill, get our juice flowing. Okay, our little anvil is starting to take shape some now. We've got to put some feet on it next, I think. I'm going to deburr it. Put some feet on it, or bring it back, and we'll start putting some feet and maybe a little bit of decoration on the side. Got the anvil in there now with the top down. We're going to put some feet on here, and what they're going to be is I've got a grid laid out, 1/2-inch lines from all 4 sides. So what I basically will have is a 1/2-inch square foot on each side or each corner. So again, we're going to use the roughing end mill to take 100 thousandths out. Legs be 100 thousandths high. So there's our 0. That'll be close on that line. 100 thousandths. All right, that's got 4 feet in there. Now I'm going to switch over right quick, find the center here, and I'm going to drill and tap for a 1/4-20 right in the center. As I said at the beginning of this video, there may be some more, just for the fun of it, items to go with this anvil when I get done. And to incorporate one of them, I'll need a threaded hole in there. So I'm going to get set up with the drill, and we're going to put and locate the center and put us a 1/4-20 hole right there. Decided I'd take the anvil out of the vise and take a look at it with the feet. And I wasn't really happy with the 100 thousandths depth. I wanted the feet to be a little bit more pronounced than that. So I just off camera went back and milled this out another 100 thousandths, so the legs are 200 thousandths deep. Now we'll drill and tap for a 1/4-20. I've already got the center located. No particular depth on this, other than obviously I don't want to go all the way through. I'm going to go down about 3/4 of an inch. All right, now we're getting ready, going to get set up to give the vise what is called a waist. not W-A-S-T-E, but W-A-I-S-T. So let me get set up for that and I'll bring you right back. Okay, if you haven't figured this out yet, I'm pretty much making this up as I go. I've built this thing 100 times in my head, and the one part that just having a little hard time visualizing is this waistline around here. But what I'm going to try and what I'm going to use is a 1/2 inch ball end mill. I'm going to start on this side right now. I've got the location indicated that I want this to be at, which would be halfway in between the bottom of the heel and the bottom of the horn and the top of the feet. So what I'm going to do, this 1/2 inch end mill, it's only a 2 flute end mill. It is a new one, but this still doesn't seem to be all that hard, so I'm going to try it with this. I've zeroed out now. I'm going to go down overall a 1/2 inch on this side, stand it up on the end, do a 1/2 inch there, the other end do a 1/2 inch, and the other side doing a 1/2 inch. With this indicated and the table locked down on the y-axis, I should come out the same all the way around. I'm not going to move the y-axis on the table. So let's give this a little run, see how it does. There's about 30 thousandths to begin with. Let's just see what it's going to do. All right, that did pretty good. Let me get some coolant coming back on there, as much for the lube as anything else. All right, that's looking pretty good. I think I said I was going down 500 thousandths. I'm only going to go down 250 thousandths, half the diameter. And I'm going to try a little faster speed. All right, here is 200 thousandths, and I think that's where I'm going to stop. Let me run this and we'll take another look at it. All right, I think I'm going to stop at 200 thousandths there. Let me dry my notepad area off. So now leaving the vise in its position. And here's what we're getting. So now I'm going to, let's see, let's clean this up a little bit. I do not want to move the vise, the table. Be a little easier to clean to bring it out here, but I want to hold fast that position. Let's see, I may have to re-measure on that one. Let's go ahead and get the other side. I'll get it just like I did the first side. Run the same thing on that. I'll bring you back when we get ready to do one of the ends. Okay, I started to second guess myself a while ago when I stood it up on the end, and I'm glad I did, because obviously we're cutting on a different axis now. We were on the x-axis, and now we're fixing to do on the y-axis. The vise jaws are not deep enough to stand this up on the point, on the horn or the heel. So what I've done is line my end mill with the groove that I already cut. I put the work stop in here so that when I turn it over, that should be in the same location. I've got 0 found now. So let's go down just to be sure everything's going to hold tight. Only going to take about 10 thousandths to begin with. And that looks in the center. Just giving it one more glance through, and it looks like it's centered up. But before we make the final depth pass, again, I'm going to just take it easy on this one. Now the last 40 thousandths. All right, that looks good. I'm happy with that. I'll clean all the chips up, get it turned over, and do the other side, the other end. Okay, I don't know about you folks, but to me, this beginning to resemble an anvil a little bit. Remember, there's no plans on this, just something I'm making up in my head pretty much as I go. I've envisioned about every part of it. But I think we're close to getting ready to start grinding it to put a smooth surface on it. But there's two holes we need to put over here in the heel. One of them is called a hardy hole. That one will be about in the center over here and will be a square hole. Now, I don't have any square broaches, and based on the price of square broaches, I probably never will have any. So I'm going to drill out a round hole there, and then the only square file that I've got, and trying to keep it proportional, is this little fella, little needle file. So after I get it drilled out, I'm going to carry it to the vise and try to file this out to make a square hole. That's called the hardy hole. Now there's a round hole normally toward the end. Again, I'm no no anvil expert at all. I just fascinated with them. This country probably couldn't have been built without anvils. Much of the world couldn't have been built without anvils. But the round hole back here, and I'm sure I'll pronounce this wrong, is P-R-I-T-C-H-E-L, prickle hole. That's a round hole, and that's normally used to aid in punching a hole through. Imagine the whole nail hole in a horseshoe. That nail hole would have to be punched out. So that's one of the uses for the round hole. So we'll get this mounted in. And I've just got a general location layer that I'm going to drill them. All right, I've got the DRO zeroed out so I can come back to that hole. But while we got the centering bit in, I'm going to go ahead and drill the other one. I'm using a number 28 drill bit for this, basically a 9/64. Primary reason using that size is that's what size hole my file will fit in. All right, I'm going to go trade this bit in for a 9/64. Last thing I want to do is break off a drill bit in there right now. All right, let's see if this 9/64 will work a little better. That number 28 was one of the import bits, and while it's good for aluminum, it doesn't work too good in steel. All right, and we'll go back to our original location. All right, I think we're ready to go over to the vise. I'm going to get set up over there and start filing out this hardy hole. All right, I've got the hole filed out now. Reasonably square, I think. Good enough for an abstract anvil. I'm going to carry this over to the surface grinder now, and all the flat surfaces that I can get to, I'm going to surface grind them. I'm not going to try to video that. It's the same thing I've shown before in several recent videos of surface grinding. So I'll bring you back though, or I'll come back and show you the finished product when we get done with it. Okay, I finished surface grinding on the our abstract anvil now, and I'm fairly pleased with it. Again, this was not something I had any plans for. It was just something that was in my head that I decided I would try. Finish turned out good, I think. Was able to surface grind all the flat surfaces, including the bottom of the feet. And you know, it might be nice to leave it bright and shiny, but how many of you has ever seen an anvil bright and shiny like this? So what I'm going to do is the same thing I did to these jack stands in a couple videos back. I've got the kiln heating up right now, and I'm going to give this a good washing, get any of the oils left on it off, get it cleaned up. Then we're going to put it in the kiln at about, I'm saying probably about 550, 600 degrees. This volume right here is going to take a while to heat up, but I'm just going to keep an eye on it and watch it until it's the blue like I think I want it. So I got some, let's see, what's this stuff called? It's not purple power, it's simple green. So a product from Lowe's. I've got the gloves on just to try to prevent any of the oils from my skin getting on it. All right, I'm going to let this dry for a while. Dab some of the excess off. And then we'll carry it over to the kiln and start the bluing process. In the previous video on the mill jack stand, someone asked me about this kiln. This kiln is one that my oldest daughter had for a while. She used to make glass beads, and she used it for a while and then moved on to another hobby. But it's a Jenkin kiln out of Jenkin out of Lakeland, Florida. This is an older model. The temperature control on this one is not all that steady. I probably couldn't use this for any real heat treating. It'll get hot enough, but I can't control the temperature that well. I may at some point modify the and put a temperature control on here that will control a little bit better. But I've got it heating up now. It's right at 500 degrees now. I've got the piece in there, and I'm just going to let this go for probably at least a couple of hours. All right, we've been in the kiln now about an hour, and we're holding around 600 degrees. I'm getting a good mingled color, which is what I'm looking for. I don't want it black, but I'd like to, want it blue. It looks like it's about halfway there, so we're going to leave it probably another 30. I'll look at it maybe in about 30 minutes and see how it looks in. All right, we've been in here about 2 hours now, so let's see what we look like. There's it's a good blue. See if I can get in a little closer. I'm not sure how well Not sure how well the colors will show up in there, but as you can see, it's got a good mingled color. That's what I'm looking for in bluing. I like that motley color, if you will, where we got several different shades of blue mingled in. So I'm gonna shut the kiln off now. It's about time for me to call it a day here in the tin barn. I'm gonna go eat dinner with my 93-year-old mother tonight. She loves some pepperoni pizza, so I'm gonna go get her some pizza, and the wife and I, sister and her husband, gonna spend a little time with her tonight. I'll come back in the morning and this should be cooled down, and we'll wrap this video up. All right, the anvil's had time to cool down now. Off camera this morning, I cut this sapling from back in the woods back behind the tin barn. I believe it's a white oak sapling, but cut it down, cut me a little short block out of it, about a 3-inch block, stripped the bark off of it, and just smeared a little stain on it just to give it a little color. But you remember that hole I drilled and tapped through the center of the bottom of the anvil? That's what that was for. Run a bolt up through there, all the way through this, to hold it in place. I'm really pleased with the way the anvil turned out. I got a good mingled bluing in here. I think it resembles an anvil reasonably well. Like I said to begin with, this was an abstract. Just a little showpiece. I think in some upcoming projects, over a period of time, there'll be some more items to go with this. You know, an anvil's not a whole lot of use if it doesn't have some hammers to go with it, and some pieces to go in the hardy hole, and maybe a set of pliers and stuff like that. So we'll see as time goes by. But I hope you've enjoyed this build of this little anvil. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video.